What I am about to analyze will change the way you see the Ness and Ike matchup. Today we'll be discussing an early bracket match with the perspective to coach the Ness player. The entire point will be on focusing on how the player handles the range of Ike and to develop ways to counter Ike's range with respect to the player's skill. So how we're going to do this is we're going to talk about range a lot of time. We're going to talk about stage control. We're going to talk about habits. And then we're going to talk about what to do instead in replacement of what is presented before us in this match. So we're going to go straight into it. So to clarify, in order for Ness to even be able to win this matchup is to be able to handle Ike's range. Ness struggles against a lot of characters that have disjoints. So in order to deal with disjoints very well, you have to understand how to play around a character's range. So first, I want to get into a small discussion of stage selection. So generally speaking, when Ness is dealing with a character with a sword, let's just use sword examples of Lucina, Marth, Ike, Kron, Roy, you want to stay away from stages that have a lot of platforms. The reason for this is simply because with platforms, sword characters have a lot of maneuverability and mobility to position themselves in a way to make their range more difficult. And to also, what makes it really difficult if you have a lot of platforms is these characters are able to juggle you very well. And for Ness, this is not a situation that you want to be in. So generally speaking, stages like Pokemon Stadium are pretty alright. Stages like Town and City will be very good for you in this matchup. Stages like Kalos are pretty okay for you to go to. But you want to avoid stages like Battlefield, Yoshi's Island, Lilat in general. So what I like to discuss anytime I do an analysis is what does a player do when they start at the beginning of the match. So in this case, how you start in the beginning of the match can very well determine how the first stock will go. And we can go a little bit into closing towards the end of the video, but very much how you start is very important. So the first thing you want to do with Ness when you start at the beginning of the match is try to establish stage control. A lot of players on the lower end or early brackets don't really establish a lot of stage control presence. You want the Ike player to feel like you know exactly what you're doing. You want the Ike player to know that you're not going to give away stage for free, and that will make it a lot easier for you to deal with range. And you're going to see in just a second what I mean. So early on, if you decided to, Darkfire was alright, but if you decided to stay in the middle and walk forward, you could have easily got a shield grab. The thing about a lot of average Ike players is they're going to look for a lot of the Nair. Everyone knows this. Nair is a very strong tool, and it can be very safe. To counter that safety of the move, you want to be able to apply stage presence by getting closer and basically putting your character in a position to where you can make the opponent's options less safe. In this case, if you dash forward and shielded, then you want to got a shield grab, especially since the opponent wasn't really prepared for you to walk forward. He's kind of just trying to wall you out here. So that was a good forwarder. Alright, so in this scenario right here, go back a little bit earlier. Alright, right here, the first mindset you should put yourself into is, alright, I didn't get my PK fire combo immediately after. Ike has stage control. Your main goal at this point is to get yourself out of the situation. Remember what we said earlier about maintaining stage control? Right now you don't have it. It's very hard to deal with priority 1, which is dealing with Ike's range, without stage control. So what you want to do is, instead of trying to fight your way out of this, You just find the easiest way to get back to the middle. So ways you can do this is either you jump to the middle of the stage, go around his aerial and jump. You go drop down from the platform, roll back into the middle of the stage, or you do nothing, let your opponent swing, and then you go back to the middle of the stage. So there's three options that you could have did there. But instead, you tried to challenge. And the problem is what happened here. You got put yourself into a bad situation, and now your opponent was taking advantage of it. If they were like really, really good, you would have immediately took 38%. And you see how here that small scenario, although it's a bit exaggerating, led you to that situation. Again, earlier you're trying to shield, and shielding is not your way of getting out. So I like what you did here. You're really patient. You had the ledge, but be aware that holding the ledge too long can lead you to very vulnerable. And what I mean by this is Ike has a down tilt. Down tilt is really safe when you're at ledge and catch you if you're sitting there too long. And if you get clipped by the down tilt, you're just going to eat more damage. The other thing is, if he does a down tilt to kind of frame trap you and you decide to roll, since the recovery frames for down tilt is not long, I can probably punish you by getting a grab if you roll, or just getting an air if you roll, or just hitting you with nair if you do regular get up. So it's very important that sometimes you do hold the ledge, but keep in mind that you're on a clock, so you have to pick an option. Right here is pretty good, but I don't agree with trying to challenge Ike here, because remember what we said earlier, your job is to get yourself out of this scenario. Alright, so now I'm going to cover a little bit about things that are habitual. So right here, when you do the combo, you go for the PK fire. Granted, it's an execution error in some way or fashion, but the biggest thing here is to understand that if what you're doing isn't working, or you're messing up an execution of something in tournament, it's a good idea not to try to continue it and try to do something more productive. So get into the habit and the mentality of, hey, if something's not working, I need to try something else. Especially if it's not really, if the intent of something not working is to try to condition someone. Instead, what would be more productive here would be for you to shark under the platform and try to hit Ike or pressure him into doing a really bad option. In this case, earlier we saw signs where you could get shield grabs. It's very possible that you can get shield grab or poke someone underneath this stage. Especially if right there, which we'll get into, at this PK fire, you just decided to dash dance shield, and he's already taken the really ambitious option to jump around you and hit you with air, which honestly you could punish out of shield, because remember, Ness has really great out of shield options when it comes to neutral air, back air, forward air. It's not the quickest, but it's one of the meatiest options. And that PK Fair actually lost you a stock here. So be very aware that, like, if you already missed it twice, you definitely shouldn't keep going for it, especially with that recovery. See right here how you're sharking underneath the platform? Look at how much value that's getting you. A lot. If you knew how to continue that, then you would put yourself in really good situations against this Ike. Really good magnet. Magnets can be underused tools by Ness. Okay, I think you want to go for up there, because then you would have most likely would have killed him. Okay, alright, so mistake on this part. So the biggest thing you're going to see here is you're having a hard time dealing with Ike's range. And the biggest thing is the fact that what Diagon is taking advantage of here is he knows you're afraid of the sword. So what he's been doing instead is getting grabs on you, albeit may or may not be intentional. He's been getting grabs on you because you're afraid of the range and you're trying to shield. What's really important is if you're going to play the shield game, you want to dash forward, because often or not, people could be expecting you to just kind of stay in place, but they're not really looking for how you're moving, if you're going to move closer, if you're going to move farther away. Okay, gonna hit on this again. So habitually, yes, you went to the ledge because you're trying to deal with recovery, but the back air here, it's not gonna get you a lot, because even if you hit the back air and kind of hit him away, I can still be put in a position to where he can hit you. Also, is very ambitious for the simple fact that if he had amazing spacing there, you would have been sent off stage and potentially lost your stock. So instead, get yourself to the ledge, try to find a way to get back to the middle. Your goal is always to get back to the middle. Without it, you're going to struggle against Ike. Okay, really good arc fire. I mean, arc fire, PK fire, excuse me. Oh, that was really good. That was really good. Start adapting to his neutral B pressure. Alright, so I want to talk about this. It's really important that here, yes, getting the up B juggle when you're right here is maybe really good, but it's important to recognize that, think about the alternative. If this man just went ahead and went straight at you, you wouldn't have died. It's very important to recognize that going for up B, even though it's really good with Ness, it's not always optimal. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get your opponent into kill range. And especially for getting a kill range into back throw. Right now he's not at that percent, but it's important to make sure that you can continue to pressure the opponent. And right here, doing this up B will leave you in a very vulnerable position, simply because the timing of what's happening right here. He could go ahead and just hit you, and also put you in a situation where you got up B'd, and you might just lose your stock here. Like me. Also, he could have just jumped and hit you. And if y'all traded, you wouldn't have died. Oh, that was really good spot dodge. He kind of messed up on his execution. Oh, okay. Alright. So biggest thing here is, when I'm noticing one of your habits that you start doing is when you're at really high percent, you really start trying to throw out hitboxes to prevent the opponent from hitting you. That's something you should do when you're at lower percents, when you're not at kill percent, because your opponent can't really, how do I say this? They can't get a lot off of you throwing out hitboxes off of early percent, because Ness's, hey, you just hit me, I'm going to hit you back options are really good at low percent. It's really hard to get a lot of hits off of Ness unless you have sword character with guaranteed combos early on, because of the priority on his options. And if you ever decide to trade, because Ness is really good at trading at low percent, so it's going to be really hard to deal with that. Okay, that was really good. Okay, that was good. Alright, again, with the back air, putting you in really hard positions. Okay. Alright. So, biggest thing here is, you notice you whiffed with the PK Fire, right? The thing about PK Fire is, let's put it this way. Majority of players know that PK Fire is one of the most threatening options in the game, right? For Ness, because it gets them a lot of percent, and Ness gets one of the easiest follow-ups in the game and can potentially kill you off it. It's important to know that your opponent's going to look at it because they look for it a lot when they understand the importance of it. You're going to see Diagon is jumping constantly if he knows you're going to try to do the PK Fire. Later on, you're going to see you get punished for it. But what I'm trying to tell you is it's very important to try to figure out when your opponent is looking for PK Fire. When your opponent is looking for PK Fire, you know they're obviously going to do stuff like jump or block. It really simplifies what you need to do next. So either you call out the jump and hit them with neutral air or up air, or you run up and grab them. And it's very important to recognize the positioning you're in too. Because right here, you're not going to be able to run up and grab because he just reset the neutral. But in the next sequence, you're going to see him try to swing because he knows you're going for the arc fire again. PK Fire. And you get punished for it. Oh boy. That was good on his part. So to recap on the first game, want to establish stage control. When you're at ledge, you want to find the fastest way to get out of the ledge pressure. For Ness, a lot of time it's not tacking, which is what you're doing. In dealing with range, you want to focus on positioning. So that way, if your opponent is going, that way you can kind of make your opponent have less optimal spacing on their aerials because they're going to abuse that. And finally, when you're PK firing in the neutral, you want to understand that your opponent knows how good it is. So you want to counter what your opponent is trying to do to play around it. This game plan is very simple. You hit someone hard, you hit them with something good, you back throw them, you kill them. That's really good. I see. So go back to the beginning, right? Immediately, what are you doing? Immediately, you're trying to establish your presence. You don't just rush up and throw PK Fire, which is really good. And then when you have stage control, you're trying to make the most of it, which is why, think of it this way, when your opponent has no room to go anywhere, they can't abuse their range. Characters like Ike, Lucina, Robin, it's really hard to abuse range when you have no room to go. Especially for a character like Robin. Robin, even though a lot of times people just get hit by projectiles that Robin throws, Robin has a hard time just being able to apply pressure without room. Alright, there's a lot of scraps. There's a lot of button pressing. Okay, I like that PK Fire. Really good parry. Applying a lot of pressure. The difference between last game and this game is when you're fighting up close, you're not just letting them get it for free. You're not just throwing out hitboxes. You're not just... In those sequences where you're getting damage, it's primarily due to you throwing out hitboxes that are good and not just throwing it to throw it. It wasn't really intentional so much. Oh, that's very scary. Okay, let me think about this. I think here, you should just commit to the jump. What you realize, I think you realize that, oh crap, you kind of like didn't do a good jump, so you try to, how do I say it? When you're committing to an option, an idea, you want to fully commit to it. Especially if you're not playing a character that can half commit to a lot of options, especially when you're at ledge. And what I mean by this is, let's say for example, Sheik decides, oh crap, my jump was bad off stage. She can just bouncing fish away, reset, and then just up B to the ledge. Whereas Ness's recovery isn't that great. So when you're gonna commit to that jump and understand that, and you see that the person's charging up B, just go to ledge. You'll probably make it, and your opponent might mess up the execution. But this half committing because you realize you did wrong, you end up killing yourself on the with the up B recovery because of it. It's natural to make mistakes, but just trying to point that out for future. All right, so right here, you realize you have a lead and you're kind of staying far away, but don't underestimate the power of making sure you pressure your opponent by being close. You don't want him to bait you into, ooh, that was really good. You don't want him to bait you into just thinking that he has the upper hand, even though clearly he doesn't. Oh, that's a grab. There you go. Like it. Okay. Right here, focus more on dash dancing. Right here, you're giving away. All right, so let me talk about a little bit of what you do when you get stage control. So in this game, you have been getting a lot more stage control than the first game, and it's showing because you're winning this game a lot more. When you have stage control, I'll explain a simple concept. When you're backing away, it's because you want to do it deliberately. There has to be a purpose behind backing away. An easy example of for you wanting to back away is either you want to bait the opponent to go in and go closer, or you know your opponent's going to rush because they want to get out of the ledge pressure, so they dash forward. The issue here is every time he dash forwards and shields, you're backing away, expecting him to keep forwarding. But he's walking forward safely, and you're not challenging him in that aspect. So you end up losing your pressure. Very important not to give it up for free if you're going to do that. Okay. That should be kill? That's okay. Messed up a little bit, but I think you're going to win this game. It's very clear. Careful about the double jumps. Ooh. Okay. Remember when I talked about earlier about challenging an opponent when you don't have stage pressure? This is another example. You're trying to fight him to get out of the ledge situation. But Ness, even though he has good hitboxes, he doesn't really want to challenge too many things at ledge against a character that has a big sword. Character that has a disjoint in general. Because they will knock the crap out of you. Okay. Alright, that was really good. Called him out. So it's very clear that you know how to call out double jump reach, which is very good. Keep it up. Alright, so we're in town and city. So I was saying this stage would be pretty good for you, simply because when the platforms aren't there, it gives you a chance to apply better positional pressure against the opponent. So you can position yourself to hit him more instead of the Ike being able to use and abuse a lot of platforms to make the most of his range. So the beginning, what you did was really good. You walked forward to say, hey, I'm going to walk forward. If you do something, I'm going to hit you. But Diagon kind of recognized that you were going to do anything and just kind of swung at you, and it worked. It was just one of those random skirmishes that what he did just worked. So be aware that don't give up what you're trying to do so lightly. Okay, that's very good. You're applying it in the third game. Deciding to shield more, position yourself to where you can get a grab or an out of shield nair. That's really good. Okay, trying to do jump forward air. Okay, alright. Okay, so what happened here? So you got yourself out of the situation. He put himself in a really bad situation by overcommitting. So there's no reason for you to dash all the way away to the other side of the stage. That's putting yourself in a bad situation. You're going to see here. You almost could have died to that. And you see how this Ike has no platforms to move around. That's what I mean. It's really hard for him to move around, abuse his range if you have stage control and there's no platforms to use. Ooh, oh, that was good. Okay, all right, you got this. Back throw. Probably went for. I would have went for damage here. I wouldn't have went for up throw or down throw. You're not gonna kill him off stage that easily unless he does something really, really bad, and you basically just double jump forward air him, I guess, to infinity. Okay, that was good. Alright, challenge worked this time. Like I said earlier, be careful. Consider that the aggressive option either an option to where someone's not going to respect Ness's range or Ness's priority, or as a mix-up for someone when they're not ready to predict you challenging them. So either they're not respecting it, or that you can challenge them. Like right here, you can tell that Diagon's adapting by respecting it. He's respecting with a counter, so be very careful. And now you're seeing this recurring theme where whoever has stage control, whoever's in the middle, is going to land the easiest hit because the other player doesn't really know what to do when the opponent has pressure. Okay. Okay, you want to get out of there. That was good. Took a while, but that was good. Okay. Ooh. Remember that platform part I was talking about? That platform saved the Ike player. Able to abuse his range because of it. This big up B hitting you in the face. Okay, got it this time. Be really careful at the really, really high up Bs, because honestly, he could just hit. Oh my god. Honestly, he could just. He can kind of hit you. Especially if you've been doing that high recovery at B a lot. This man can just hit you. He can just jump and hit you. And sword players will definitely take advantage of it. If he gets another counter off, that's definitely the game. Alright, you rolled away. That's fine. To reposition yourself. Okay. Okay, really good back air out of shield. Okay. So, very important habit that most players does. Important in the sense that I'm going to talk about it. Is that when people are getting pressured, right, and after they get hit and if they land, a lot of times people shield. It's very, and I don't mean go and said attack, but what I mean is be very aware that a good player, if they know scenarios where you'll try to shield to block an attack after getting thrown or something, be aware that sometimes going for shield again over and over again will just get you grabbed. A player like Diagon, I'm not sure if he's a melee player, but essentially, and what people do in melee is if you're constantly trying to shield a lot, because dash damage grab was really good after getting hit by something, they'll take advantage of it, re-grab you out right when you shield, run up grab, and then combo you. And Diagon was doing this a lot in the game and getting awarded heavily, at least like 40 to 50%. Not through a direct combo, but indirectly through his pressure that he's getting through throwing you off stage and you trying to challenge it. Oh wow. This is scary. He got the grab again. Ah, he just SD'd. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show. So the analysis is pretty much done. To summarize again, we discussed on how you handle the range of Ike as a player and counter to Ike's range, and the biggest thing to deal with that is stage control. Now there are some habits, like when you're trying to continue the combo with PK Fire, that's causing you to lose scenarios and not continue your pressure, so that's big. Third thing is when you're at ledge, try not to fight so much against a sword character. Your goal is to reestablish stage control, so you're trying to get to the middle as soon as possible, the easiest way possible, without kind of panicking when you're doing it.